discuss profitable growth strategies for law firms. You would agree with me that beyond running a law practice, you want to ensure you are running a profitable law practice and able to keep the lights on, keep staff happy, and keep things going. Today's conversation is centered around law in the age of intelligent capital, transforming law firm business models. You would agree with me that since 2020, the world has changed, and we have all been playing catch up from one change to the other. First, it was COVID that has brought us into the virtual age of doing things. You might want to note that we have virtual attendees for today's event, so it's not just those of us here in the room. Aside that, we also now have AI, and everything is working around AI. It's changed the way law firms operate, and we want to ensure that our managing partners, the decision makers, are armed with the requisite information to build law firms in Nigeria and hopefully across the globe. My name is Damilola Busari. I'm a lawyer and a corporate event compere, and it's my honor to be the moderator for today's event. Right now, I'd like to bring up to the stage the president of Alan. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me lead operations manager, detail commercial solicitors, Mrs. Odunwala Onodipe. A round of applause for her as she comes up for her welcome remarks.
Good morning. It's a joy to be here this morning, and I'm very happy to see the chair of NBA SBL. I see the panelists, and I see Mr. Zeku. It's lovely to have you join us yet again. Thank you. And I'll go right into it. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished partners, esteemed colleagues. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of purpose that I welcome you all to the fourth Annual Managing Partner Roundtable, proudly hosted by the Association of Law Firm Administrators Nigeria, in collaboration with the NBA section on business law. Today, we gather not just as leaders of law firms, but as architects of the future of legal practice in Nigeria and beyond. Last year, we had deep conversations around strategic alliance as a global strategy future of law in our beloved country, Nigeria, and Africa as a whole. It was an enriching conversation, and this year, the roundtable will focus on law in the age of intelligent capital, transforming law firm business models. We believe that this is indeed timely, if not urgent. We are at the intersection of innovation and tradition, where artificial intelligence, data-driven insights, and evolving client expectations are reshaping the very fabric of legal service delivery. This roundtable is a space for honest conversations, bold ideas, if I may say, and collaborative thinking. It is an opportunity to indeed reflect on how we can reimagine our business models, not just to survive, this is important to note, but to thrive in this new era of intelligent capital. So, on behalf of the Association of Law Firm Administrators Nigeria, I thank you for your presence. I thank you for your leadership. And I thank you for your commitment to excellence. I look forward to an engaging session with the panelists who I know are expertise in their areas. So, let us engage, challenge, and inspire one another as we chart the course for the future of our profession. Welcome once again, and I wish us all a productive and transformative session. Thank you.
A round of applause once more for Mrs. Onodipe. Thank you very kindly, ma'am. She said that we are to engage as architects of the legal practice. The conversations that would happen today have seasoned speakers with deep knowledge and interest in the legal industry. And they will feature discussions on law in the age of intelligent capital, transforming law firm business models, which is the theme for today's event. Our panelists are here, and of course, it is going to be an interactive session. We also are going to have a keynote address. And to wrap it up, we are having a masterclass on scaling smart for law firms, smart business expansion, and talent retention strategies. Now, speaking about the masterclass, this is the age where the workforce is not quite what it used to be. We have a mix of generations, and that alone can be a challenge if not managed properly. So I'll encourage you to please not just be here for the Managing Partners Roundtable, but also stay behind for the better half, if I may call it that, of today's engagement, which is the masterclass. Right now, we have some videos that have goodwill messages from our sponsors, and we'll just have the media team play that right away.
At the forefront of legal innovation in Nigeria is Stream Sowers & Co. We are a full-service law firm driven by excellence, innovation, and a deep commitment to our clients. Our values: confidentiality, diversity, empathy, fidelity, integrity, and professionalism. We provide tailored solutions across aviation law, corporate and commercial law, dispute resolution, energy, natural resources and environmental law, competition law, legislative oversight, and governmental activities. Our team includes leading minds recognized across Africa and the world for landmark deals and exceptional legal strategy. We are SSK, strategic, trusted, forward-thinking.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ekundayo Onojobi. It's with the law firm of Udo Udoma and Bilo Osage. The firm was founded in 1983 and is now being led by a team of 15 partners who are all thought leaders and specialists in their areas of specialization. One thing that sets the firm apart is that we not only know the technical details of the law, we also understand our clients' businesses and are able to prefer practical legal solutions for clients' business and personal concerns.
Owing to the ever-changing business law environment, we put on our thinking caps and we at Udodoma and Belosage birthed ULaw, our law firm of the future. ULaw is a contemporary tech-based legal service powered by our team of versatile and experienced lawyers catering exclusively to startups and growth businesses in Nigeria. At ULaw, we streamline our processes and services to provide concise commercial solutions to entrepreneurs and business owners in an adaptable and affordable legal service provider way.
In a world of shifting regulations, cross-border complexities, and high-stakes transactions, legal challenges can quickly become business risks. Great Chapel Legal keeps you ahead of the curve. We partner with our clients to simplify complexities, mitigate risks, and unlock opportunities wherever they operate.
We're a solution-driven law firm committed to helping you make confident decisions, no matter how challenging the environment. With offices in Lagos and Abuja, we operate with deep technical knowledge, sharp commercial insight, and a firm grasp of both Nigerian and international legal frameworks. We bring clarity and strategy where others only see obstacles.
Routinely recognized by IFLR 1000 and Chambers Global for excellence in various aspects of corporate and commercial law, our strength lies in our ability to deliver value across key sectors, from litigation and alternative dispute resolution, banking and finance, capital markets, energy and power, real estate finance, oil and gas, and mining.
Our approach is hands-on, proactive, and tailored to your specific goals. Our clients trust us with their most important matters because we don't just react, we anticipate, advise, and act with purpose. When urgency strikes, you won't have to chase us because we are there. We remain accessible, responsive, and ready to protect what matters to you.
At Great Chapel Legal, we lead with insight,
Deliver with precision,
and partner with purpose.
Thank you. I believe it is now time for us to give the hand of applause I had earlier on asked us to. We deeply appreciate our partners and sponsors who have helped to ensure that this dream of NPR4 is a reality. All right, let us move on with the event. I have the honor of welcoming our keynote speaker for today's event, Ozofu Latunde Ogemude. She's the Deputy Managing Partner at Udo Udoma and Bello Osage, where she leads key practice areas including corporate advisory, private equity, employment, and pro bono. Widely respected for her expertise in mergers and acquisition, corporate restructuring, and regulatory compliance, she has advised on some of Nigeria's most complex legal matters. She chaired the committee that drafted the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020, and currently serves as chairperson of the Nigeria Bar Association section on business law, NBA-SBL. A multiple award-winning pro bono advocate, Ozofu has recognized and received recognition from IFLR 1000, Who's Who Legal, Legal 500, and Thomson Reuters Foundation for her leadership, impact, and service. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker as she comes up stage. A round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And on behalf of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, I'd like to congratulate Alan on yet another Managing Partners Roundtable. Given the successes of the first 3 editions, I expect that today we'll build up on that and be even more successful. Today we're going to be examining the topic, Law in the Age of Intelligent Capital, Transforming Law Firm Business Models Through Finance, Emerging Technologies, and AI. And I find it very interesting that Alan has chosen this topic because at the SBL, just barely 2 weeks ago, we concluded our annual conference where we looked at the future of business law in an intelligence age. So it shows that we are thinking in the same direction as Alan. And that's really how, in an era of intelligence and technology and AI and disruption, we can continue to run our law firms in a model that is fit for purpose, that is profitable, that is value adding, that is technology driven. We are facing a legal landscape that is shifting quickly. Technology is advancing, client expectations are evolving, and economic conditions are challenging the way we've always done things. And while all this transformation is global, it is very much here in Nigeria too. Gone are the days where we can do things at a Nigerian standard, which is not aligned with international standards. Those days are gone for law firms that want to be firms that saw the waves of this future we're in. AI, digital analytics, and emerging technology are not on the horizon anymore. They're already a part of how leading law firms operate. Today's conversation on intelligent capital is therefore both timely and necessary. It pushes us to think beyond financial capital or technology in isolation. Instead, it calls us to combine people, data, and capital intentionally to build value. Our task is to rethink how we work and lead our firms in this new era. So let's start with how we run our firms. For too long, many of us have relied on relationship-based work and traditional hourly billing models. But these models are increasingly showing cracks. Since 2006, average billing rates have increased by over 100%, yet billable hours have barely moved. Clients want certainty of legal cost. They want value. They don't just want to pay for time. So predictable pricing models like retainers, cap fees, or subscription-based offerings offer more that certainty. But pricing alone isn't the full answer. We should be packaging our know-how into products. Some of the things that lawyers could provide exclusively to clients are now commoditized. They are online, they are free. So we're constantly having to evolve. What is our value proposition to our clients and how do we deliver? Are we only targeting clients that we can see and feel, or are we aiming for clients across continents, across the world? Strategic investments should also be on the table, whether through partnerships with fintech, knowledge platforms, or legal tech providers. The firms that think like businesses and not just as legal advisors will lead the market. So the next thought is, how do we grow? Growth today is driven by data. Referrals and networks still matter, but we need more precision. Our clients are online and they are informed. We must be just as deliberate in how we reach them. This means studying market intelligence, tracking client and competitor activity, and using data to understand where value lies in our own service offerings. Being commercially aware is no longer optional. Clients expect you to understand the industry, their risks, and what drives their decisions. It's not enough to be legally sound. We also have to be business savvy. AI is already here and is transforming how legal work gets done. Tasks that once took days or weeks, like document review, due diligence, contract analysis, can now be done in minutes. This doesn't replace lawyers, but it frees us to focus on higher value work, strategic advice, negotiation, and client service. But we must adopt AI intentionally before layering in new tools. We need strong foundations, modern document systems, billing platforms, workflow tools. From there, AI can be integrated thoughtfully, starting small, testing in low-risk areas, and scaling from experience. This isn't just about, in fact, it isn't about chasing trends. It's about staying competitive. The greater risk is not acting at all. And in our own conference, I had thrown a jab at the audience that if we conducted a survey to know how many law firms were actually leveraging technology and AI in their operations, we'll probably, maybe if we're lucky, have one hand up. So we're here again challenging ourselves as law firms, as legal businesses, as law firm practice managers, that we really do need to drive this in the various firms. We need to champion the mind shift that it takes to be part of this technological age. The firms that succeed will be those whose leaders are willing to evolve. We must build our own understanding of technology. We must invest in training, and we must appoint people to leadership positions who can help to bridge the gap between law and innovation. As we adopt these tools, we must also protect what makes us trusted, our values. AI brings with it complex ethical questions. The Nigerian Bar Association section on legal practice, which is a different section of the MBA, recently published guidelines on AI use in legal practice that provides a strong framework for responsible adoption. And I would encourage us to look for those guidelines and read them. They highlight 3 key areas. First, accuracy and human oversight must remain central. Secondly, data privacy and confidentiality must never be compromised. And thirdly, we owe our clients full transparency on how we work and the tools we use that employ the data that we get from our clients. Ethics is not a checkbox. It is foundational to trust. If we lose that, we lose everything. So in concluding, I'll say that the challenge before us is clear, but so are the opportunities that it brings. Around the world, and increasingly in Nigeria, law firms are reimagining how they work. We can lead this shift. We can design business models that are financially sound, operationally smart, and ethically grounded. The talent, ambition, and insight in this room are more than enough to shape the future of our profession. So let us not resist change. Let us drive it with purpose, with urgency, and with confidence. Thank you very much, and I look forward to our conversations today.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. A round of applause once more. I don't know if you'll mind. Can we have 1 or 2 nuggets from that? Because I'm taking notes as well. I'm just an associate at the moment, but I'm also looking to move forward. And some of the things that she said were rather instructive for me. She said that we must be willing to evolve. We must aim for clients across continents. So it's not just a Nigerian game anymore. It's a global game. And we must be legally sound and also business savvy. So those are notes from Damilola Busari. I don't mind if we have 1 or 2 people that would like to share some of the things, light bulb moments perhaps. 1 or 2 people? Are we? Awesome. Thank you for indulging me. So please introduce yourself and then please share.
My name is Oluwakemi Falola, practice manager, CHLP. She said, don't just chase trends. Instead, be competitive when it comes to integrating AI. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. A round of applause for Ms. Falola, please.
Thank you. My name is Chisom Adindo from Okonjo Diwan ABA. So one that we take out is, she said, law firms will succeed in this area only if their leaders are willing to evolve. Yeah.
A round of applause. Thank you very much. And this is a room filled with leaders. So that means that we are definitely looking forward to success of law firms in Nigeria. We must not fail to acknowledge our online audience. I had said it in passing earlier on, but I've been informed that we have over 100 people online at the moment. So can we just wave hi? I know the cameraman will be able to get our shots. And if we could have on screen perhaps a display, is that possible? A display of some of our participants online. Could we have that up screen? And I'm happy that this conversation is definitely not ending in the room here today. One challenge from me to you, this part of the conversation is free and it's good to be your brother's keeper. I know that law is one profession where we have a lot of colleagues that we mingle with, that we have conversations with. So as we're doing these things, as we're learning at forums like this, please let's have this conversation with our colleagues as well. Thank you very much. We're moving now into one of my personally most anticipated sessions for today, which is the panel discussion and conversation, if I dare say, because this is not just about us listening to the panelists, but we also have the opportunity to ask our questions and ensure that we have robust conversation. Please welcome with me the moderator for this panel session who will be steering the conversations, Mr. Bode Olanipekun, SAN, who is an alumnus of the University of Lagos, University of Wales, and Harvard Law School, amongst others. He's presently the managing partner of Wole Olanipekun & Co., a pan-Nigerian law firm and supporter of charities. His academic qualifications and professional experience make his areas of core competence include specialized transactions, litigation, and arbitration across a wide spectrum of legal and economic spheres. In 2018, he was sworn in as Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and at the date of his appointment, he was the youngest holder of this prestigious rank in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please once again put your hands together for Leonard Silk Bode Olanipekun, SAN. Please come up, sir. Yes, please. Thank you very much, sir. You may be seated. Our first panelist, like I said, this is a hybrid, a global conversation. Our first panelist is not here physically with us in the room, but she is here in the room online. Please make welcome Helen Anatogu, a seasoned legal and business executive with over 2 decades of experience at the intersection of law, technology, and innovation. She currently serves as the lead business officer and senior director legal EMEA at Pega Systems, a global software company that develops AI-powered decisioning and workflow automation solutions to help businesses improve customer engagement and operational efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Ms. Helen Anatogu, who is joining us virtually and looking very gorgeous, if I might say. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the conversation. Please confirm that you can hear us clearly.
Clearly. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much for joining us. We have our next panelist, Mr. Adedoyin Afun, a highly regarded corporate and commercial lawyer in Nigeria, known for his professionalism, thoroughness, and solution-oriented approach. He's been named a leading individual by the Legal 500 in commercial, corporate, and mergers and acquisitions for 7 consecutive years from 2018 to 2024. That's a good place to clap. And he's also ranked for his expertise in banking, finance, capital markets, and project finance. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Adedoyin Afun, please let's put our hands together for him as he makes his way upstage. Good morning, sir. Our next panelist is Mrs. Olamide Adeosun. She's a strategic finance leader with over 25 years of cross-sector experience in banking, corporate finance, and investor relations. As the CFO of FBN Quest Merchant Bank, she oversees finance, procurement, and general services, driving profitability, governance, and sustainable growth. Previously, she led the finance, business management, and investor relations at Union Bank Nigeria, optimizing performance and enhancing stakeholder confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a warm applause, let us welcome upstage Mrs. Olamide Adeosun. Please welcome with me also Mrs. Chinasa Unwaebunam Senior Advocate of Nigeria. She's a seasoned legal practitioner with over 20 years of experience in dispute resolution and legal advisory services. Her notable transactional work includes advising on a $6 million export credit facility from the US Exim Bank for the acquisition of an aircraft from Raytheon. She is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, and she serves on the advisory board of the Hague Court of Arbitration for Aviation and is the managing partner at her firm. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Learned Silk, Mrs. Chinasa Noebunam, as she makes her way up stage. Thank you very much. Our last panelist, who is Group Head Corporate Communications and Marketing at Nest Oil, Mr. Walter Bosman, is a marketing strategist and a communications consultant. He holds a Master of Science from Southbank University Business School and brings a rich background in leading marketing, brand, and business development functions across global organizations. His career spans work with B2B, B2C, and public sector organizations such as Motorola, Dell, Oando, Honeywell Group, the Commonwealth Business Council, and the Financial Institutions Training Center. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for our last panelist on this session, Mr. Walter Bosman, as he makes his way upstage.
Dami, is it over to me? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Once again, I think my job here is the easiest. And I'm not going to be the regular moderator. You're going to see more of me than hear from me, because like the SBL chair said, we must, as business leaders, evolve. So I honestly want to evolve by doing a lot of listening. But just to let participants know, let's take things from an end result perspective, because I'll be taking notes for myself, but I think each of us should also understand what we're trying to achieve. So there are a couple of business leaders or law firm leaders here. We're trying to, one of the objectives or the takeaways is to get actionable insights for law firm leaders on strengthening operational models to improve internal efficiency. Another objective is to get tangible approaches for adopting AI and technology in administrative and legal workflows for sustainable strength. And the third one, which actually was the first and will interest everybody, that's talking about the money. Is how law firms can redesign their financial models to meet evolving client expectations and leverage competitive market intelligence to drive revenue. So is it appropriate I start with the money lady? So Lamide, let's start with you. So I think the format will be for each of us to just speak generally, or each of the panelists to speak generally, before we now start focused questions. So probably like 2 minutes. Can I get up with timing, or do I have to? Is that part of my role as moderator? Okay, so for the first part of it, I think 3 minutes per speaker. Just give some kind of notice as a yellow card, 30 seconds, and then final red. But I'm sure the money person is not going to use 3 minutes. They don't talk much. The numbers were the numbers are the numbers talk. All right, Lamide. So just 3 minutes speak to the subject generally. Then we'll now again start with you to take the conversations from revenues. Then we'll do the rounds.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite. Just generally speaking about money, it's something that we don't really like to talk about, but it's one of the most important aspects of every business. Businesses exist to make money. Do not let anyone be deceived. If you don't have money, if your business is not making money, you can't sustain the organization. Another fallacy is about profitability. So it's one thing to be profitable, but it's another thing to actually run a successful business. The competitive landscape has changed, and really, cash is king. It's not about the debits and the credits, and then you have a paper profit. It's really about being able to meet your liabilities as and when they fall due. A lot of businesses fail not because they're not profitable, but because they're just cash strapped. So what I'll be speaking to in the course of this conversation is how law firms can redesign their business models, particularly around billing, etc., to ensure sustainability, not just the bottom line profit, but also ensuring that long-term and short-term business goals are met. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamide. And again, Alan, thank you. The money people don't like talking about money because they don't want to admit us into that magic circle. But thank you. She would have to talk about money today. Walter, then I'll come to the lawyers.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm not a money person. I'm more of a cost center. So please bear with me. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here to discuss this important discussion with regards to intelligent capital and how it helps to transform business model, especially in professional services firms, not just law firms really, because a lot of professional services firms are struggling with AI. But this discussion is very apt, as was mentioned by the chairman of the SBL, MBA SBL, because it focuses now on leaving behind the traditional levers of legal business, the boys to men club, Ikoyi club, and all that, to focus more on digital tools, data, AI, strategic collaboration, and how we harness, knowledge and client insight, to making decisions. Okay. So I'm very happy to be here to share my perspectives. More so that business development, marketing are now getting parts of the story or getting involved in the discussion and part of corporate strategy discussion as against being a function system, functional support system, because over the years for so long it has been seen as and I remember I joined I joined a top 5 or top tier, as they call themselves today, legal firm to create from scratch, because the support from the leaders were there to create communications, marketing, and take them further than just visibility, where data was used and automation was used. And also let me just end by saying that this discussion is about AI primarily, but it's not just about technology and automation. It's about how we harness knowledge, how we nurture talent, okay? And of course, succession planning is also involved in this as well. But for those that are not ready, they will always be left behind. A note of caution from what I've seen, I've consulted for a few firms, and a lot of them are still doing manual processing. AI is up there, automation is here, they are still here. So maybe today we'll talk some, I wouldn't use the word sense in the legal space because they are, we have Leonard Silk and Leonard people. I am not Leonard, I'm just, but, talk some, real sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. You probably also take us through how we'll integrate AI with the Boys to Men Club, or should we just leave? Should we just leave those places together? All right, thank you. Ellen, please. Can we take comments from Ellen?
Just to confirm, I know that those dialing in can hear me, but in the room, can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes. Ellen, yes, we can hear you. Ellen, yes, we can hear you.
All right. Well, so thank you for having me. This is a very how would I put it? The topic is close to my heart. The forum is also close to my heart, given that I started my career and practice in Nigeria in a law firm actually with Alukano Yebode before I, as I say, went over to the dark side, which is in-house practice, and then of course abroad. But just following on from the keynotes, which I think probably said a lot of what I'm going to say today. I think that the key message is not whether AI will transform your business models. The question is whether or not you will lead this transformation or be swept along with it. Research that we've done at PEGA shows that 73% of lawyers expect to integrate generative AI into their legal work within the next year. Now, this isn't a future scenario. This is happening right now in 2025 in law firms across the globe. Now, at PEGA, we have been at the forefront of AI innovation for over 40 years. And what we're seeing in the legal sector is both exciting and it's sobering. There's been a lot of focus over the last couple of years on generative AI, but the truth be told is that AI has been around for decades. Like I said, PEGA has been developing AI solutions for over 40 years. Now, what we are seeing is that law firms that embrace intelligence automation are realizing over 40% increases in back office efficiency. They're not just working faster, they're working smarter, they're delivering more personalized client experiences, and they're building sustainable competitive advantages. More importantly, they're positioning themselves for sustainable growth. And the market is becoming increasingly competitive, right? I just took some notes from the keynote, and I'm just looking at my notes here, where Mrs. Ogamudia said, clients don't want to pay more, right? And because of AI, some of the things that were the preserve of the law firms, we also in-house, we have access to those materials. Things that we would typically engage a law firm, hours, days to do for us, we can do within hours or even minutes on AI. So, law firms have to evolve. They've got to become more competitive, and they've got to be able to attract talent. And talent now wants to work with cutting-edge technology. They've got to be able to win clients who value innovation and build business models that scale without a proportional increase in overhead. So I hope that at the end of this conversation, you're able to take away some actionable insights. And I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you. I'll then go to the Leonard Silk. But please, to the audience again, we're going to have about at least 30 minutes or thereabout for questions from the audience so that our panelists are able to shed more light on areas that will still find unclear. Leonard Silk, please.
Good morning, everyone, and very pleased to be here. Important conversations, listening to both the SBL chair and the people from the finance, the data people. I think we're in trouble today. So as the people managing firms in Nigeria, but I believe it's an apt topic, and it's important for us to hear this kind of information that will give our perspective of what we're seeing as people managing firms. I
couldn't help but note the theme of the conference, Law in the Age of Intelligent Capital, and it's apt. Clients do not just want to pay more. The capital is actually truly intelligent. They only follow value. Even for your major clients who could easily dole out, some crazy sums a few years ago, they don't want to do that now. And like I think the last speaker said, some of the things that they used to give out law firms and you'll be doing like hourly billings, they're no longer available. So it's going to be I hope we'll have important conversations. I hope we're able to share our own views as managing partners, what we're seeing. And really, I think after listening to the opening remarks, I'm here to actually learn, because I think there are lots of things to unpack for those of us in-house managing the firms. Thank you.
Thank you, Chinasa. You really wouldn't share part of my role because I'm here to learn. All right. And this is in no particular order. I mean, I'm calling people in no particular order, and I'll come to my friend and brother Ndoyin Yafun. I mean, we were in the University of Wales about 19, 20 years ago as classmates, and we're again today. All right, Ndoyin, please, your comment.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Alan for inviting me, and thank Grace, my practice manager, for setting me up, and previously Fumbi as well, too, who's been a former Alan member that's been trying to get to me for years. I'm very grateful for what you guys have done. I've been following your events over the years. They're very commendable, and we keep trying to support in any way we can. It's been interesting, all the conversations I've heard from everybody today. But it brings back to what has been running my mind for the last week or two. And that led me to just knock together an article which I published last week on LinkedIn randomly. I did it one afternoon. It's meant to be a 3-part series. I think for lawyers, especially for the young ones and some of the old ones, we don't know that law is a business. So for me, it's starting points. We should go back to the basics and understand that law is a business. The same way we support the manufacturing companies that have problems with raw materials, need trade finance, and so other various sectors we want. As lawyers, we need to sit down and say, what kind of business of law do we want to run? That would then guide whether we need intelligent capital or we don't. Is it me and my brother and my sister? We're fine. If you want to scale up and take advantage of what the opportunities we have with the African Free Trade Continental Area, the cross-border transactions, it's not for everybody. Nobody wants to do what we are talking about. So it's very important that we first of all understand, as lawyers, are we in business? For me, that's very key. Once you understand the business aspect, then we can start dovetailing into capital attraction, staff attraction, scaling up, automation, and then building a plan to arrive at this. I always make it a point of reference every time I travel for business, sit down with law firm partners, asking them the same questions. And it's always amazing what you hear. Some you can apply, some will take a while, but I'm also here to learn. But for me, I just want to throw that out there. We should understand that law is a business, and first of all, build upon that, and I'll grow from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doyin. And interestingly, I'd made this point about, I think, 2 years ago or thereabout, when I was invited to speak to one of the Nigerian Bar Association branches in Abuja, that I think every business has a right to determine what success means to it. So it's when you come to that realization, or when you come to that decision, that you now build a model that supports what success means to you. And the truth is, if you don't make that decision, it would happen unconsciously. A decision will be made on your behalf, and you just abide. So we'll start the conversation with the money people, or the money woman. So Olamide, we'll make you talk today about money, even though you don't want to talk about it. So and it seems a general question, and I want you to take it as in-depth or as detailed as you want to take it. Let's talk about enhancing sustainability, right? What do you think are best practices from other industries? And good thing, you don't have a law degree, which is not a bad thing in itself, though it's not also a good thing. So let's learn from other industries. So what are those practices, best practices we can adopt to enhance sustainability?
Okay. So I don't have a law degree. My grandfather does, or did. However, I actually started my career in practice, or in a chartered accounting firm practice. So, so I do understand the nuances that practice-based firms go through, particularly around sustainability in finance. And as Adedoyin rightly said, law firms are businesses. It's very, it's just like when you work in a hospital and you're there to save lives. But you forget that a hospital is also a business. So when you work in a law firm and you're there to help clients, contracts, litigations, and etc., you're thinking of the good of the world, but beneath it all, it's a business. So back to the question, what are those practices other industries are cultivating to basically drive value? A lot of speakers have spoken about value. And the truth is, as I said earlier, the competitive landscape has changed. Nobody wants to pay for effort. Nobody wants to pay for generalists anymore. When you go on the internet, we're going to talk about AI, you would find 10 steps to write a contract. You would find, click this and, due diligence, would come up. There's just, the landscape has changed. People have access to information. So what can we do to drive value? What are those practices that other industries are doing? A key one is harnessing your value chain. Are law firms identifying the value chains? So it's one thing to know you've got a value chain, but have you properly dimensioned it? And dimension it in a way that you can monetize all the echelons within the value chain. That is one thing. Then monetizing the value chain of your clients. Do you understand their business such that you can actually dimension it and and give and offer products and services that can help them drive and grow their businesses? Another thing is agility. Being able to quickly adapt in terms of your efficiency, your operations to save money and time. Time is money, money is time. And what do I mean? I'm talking about cost optimization. Being able to be agile in your processes and how you operate would not only save you money in terms of you don't need 10 analysts or associates to do a piece of work these days. There's so many data and tools out there that can actually help streamline those processes. It doesn't mean that we're going to do away with people. It just means that people need to be working on more strategic things that really drive value and bring value to the clients. Another thing is optimization of our processes in terms of efficiencies. Our work models work in a way that they're efficient, they can deliver very quickly and help us cut different layers of fixed costs and therefore reduce our overall, improve our costs. Data. We talk about value, we talk about money. Finance now, it's no longer being counters. Finance is now, it's not you talked about being a cost center and people see finance as a cost center. But finance is now more strategic. Finance is about providing real data that can drive decision making. And when I talk about decision making, it's about how you grow your customers, how you optimize how you optimize your cost, how you improve in terms of your product offering, and those are the things that data can bring to the table and can ultimately help improve the bottom line. So the industry is already operating in this sphere and maximizing it. You look at the tech industry, you know, how agile they are. You look at the banking industry, particularly around customer service, because customer service is just as important as those billable hours, because if your customers don't have good experiences, they're not going to come back to you. And services, particularly the service that law firms offer, is like any other service. Like when you go to the movies, if you go to the movie and you watch a film and you don't like it, you tell the next person it's not good, and they won't go. So the word of mouth, you know, very quickly affects your profitability, and that is customer service. So, and that is something that the banking industry has really pioneered on. Data, you see that as well playing actively in the hospitality industry as well. So those are just a few practices I would speak to that industry is really optimizing on to drive the bottom line and provide value to their customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lamide. I'm sure we have questions for her already. Do we? Okay, we'll come to them. So, Walter, can we start from the simple, right? And I'm going to still, I'll have follow-on questions for you on issues of technological transformation and all of those. But let's start from the basic. And let's discuss BD targets, improved motivation and, succession planning. And I think these are basic. Then probably your next intervention will now scale it up to AI and technology in firm operations. But just speak to us about these issues of BD targets, improved motivation, succession planning. At least first 5 minutes, then we'll now come from there. Free advice.
Yeah, sure. But as a quick aside, just to add to what she said, I was having a discussion with a group head of tax for a particular company, and it was a funny discussion. And he said, Walter, when it comes to my work and where I sit in the office, I'm a cost center, even though I do tax. But when it's time to save the company billions, then I become strategic. Okay, so it's an aside. Reward systems, succession planning, it's a very, very important part of business development, and it seemed to be strategic as well, because that's really helped, to motivate, both partners and BDMs, in many ways. And, again, because I was a business development person prior, of course, you have to sell your market. And part of that is to, try and make sure that, things like profit share in a dreamland, discussion, or bonus, is added for motivation. And of course, a particular company I went to, the first 3 months was just, was something else, because junior lawyers, mid-level lawyers would come see our shining tables, because I had to create a team, see our beautiful phones and think, well, we are the ones making the money, we are the fee earners. And these ones are the ones, and, but at the end of the day, the way, it works, so succession plan is very, very important. But as regards to motivation, of course, I've mentioned points or bonus systems, at the end of the year, or sometimes even in mid-year. Another point that comes to mind with regards to reward system for BDMs is the career path as well. A lot of, because this idea of, BDMs and marketing people being support, they hardly get the training. I've been to firms where a particular BDM person has been there for 10 years and hardly get any training. And it's told, go on to LinkedIn, you can get yourself trained there. So how can you really participate when it comes to strategy discussions and saying, hold on a minute, But now it's going to get exposed because the data, the client insights, the mining of those data, the strategic collaboration is going to be done by the BDMs. Okay, so the reward itself, has to come. The other thing that comes to my mind is also, performance-based, bonuses and KPIs. I remember in my very first 10 years of work life in the UK, I used to work for a big four company, PwC to be precise, and I was a business research person, and we were trying to implement a knowledge management system, and it came to, hold on, people are not really keen on this thing, so we have two-pronged attack to it. Is it going to be performance-based or appraisal-based? Appraisal means sanction. If you don't do it, and in those days, I'm not too old, but I'm talking 90s now, late 90s now. KPI wasn't, things that was really sacrosanct at the time, but performance-based was. So, your department gets, bonus and you don't because you don't meet your target. Everybody has target, regardless of, whether you are FIENA or not in the big four. Okay. So the idea of reward system for all staff, if you keep using that term, I'll be glad to use that term too, has always been there. And of course, as Leonel Sick has said, there's still more to, so the free advice, free advice, you can be limited to that one. I know the Leonel Sick is also listening as well.
Okay, thanks, Walter. And we're going to get to the more complex free advice shortly. Let's hear from the lawyers. Doing now, and I think this speaks to probably new partners or people aspiring to partnership. So what smarter business models can new partners leverage? Beyond legacy wealth to probably earn their seats at the partnership table?
Thanks. If I may, before I speak to that question, just to tap onto what Walter was talking about, there's something very passionate to me, business development. Business development need not be strictly to support staff. I personally believe every lawyer should be involved in business development. For me, it is your bread and butter. The way you look, the way you talk once you step out of the door. There are people that have given my previous firms or places where I worked instructions based on interactions with myself. I didn't know they were going to do that. So I always encourage all lawyers need to know, and that also dovetails to every non-legal staff. It might be you went to the local booker to go and buy food for your guy, you're talking anyhow, and the partner decides, client comes himself to eat there, which is possible, and it might be robbed off. So we need to understand that the rank and file of the firm should know what business development is. I used to give a training in my previous firm, a lot, business of the law. 4 points agenda. You must get work. How do you get the work? Family and friends are the easiest place. You can extend friends to become everybody in this room. Next thing, doing the work is given. Flowing from that, how do we follow on from the work we've done? What do you guys use for it? How do you implement it? How is it going to be useful? And then it becomes a circle that just goes around. It's a simple 4-point thing, but we all need to know it. Now, on the question you asked me, I don't know about it. I don't have an answer. I'm just joking. But I think each firm's culture of value determines how that will work. For some firms that have lockstep, you definitely know what your expectations are. If you have hybrid structures, you know what the opportunities are. I will speak of a couple of firms that I work with, which have a bit of hybrid from the traditional approach. They try to borrow from some US and UK approaches. Some firms, the strategy, you can tell early on the kind of people they want to make partners. You need to find out, am I one of those people that they're looking to make a partner? You can always tell the kind of person they want. You can always walk towards that if it's what you want to do. Such firms have commissions for work brought in, even though you don't work on it. if you're already on the partnership track, you can start banking your commissions. Some firms have salary partners, then equity partner structures. Look at the history, you tell you, okay, if I become a salary partner, what has been a trajectory to become equity partner? Then you can look at what the opportunities are. It could be from commissions, it could be from bonus, if it require you to buy your way in. Some firms don't require you to buy your way in. If they see the value, they will offer you the stake on the table. So it's a hybrid of what the structure will be. I can't really say this is the best way to do it. But I always say, if you're a student of history, look at what's been done before and find a way to work for you. That'll be the answer. So it could be a mixture of all these things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doyin. You didn't use up your 5 minutes, so I'm just wondering, so that we don't take things for granted, and it might be an impossible question, that I want to pose to you. Can you just tell us what business development is in one sentence? Is that possible?
Sentence not possible, definitely. But it's back to what I said. First of all, if you know your business, you know what you're developing. Ultimately, if your business is, we want to service all the civil servants on their wheels and everything. I'm in Alausa and I want to target all the civil servants. They want to do wheels. I know where I'll go to meet them. So we need to know what the objective is. And it's very, very early on, the rank and file of a firm must know what they are targeting. So business development could be, so people have looked at it from different angles, the right environment you find yourself, targeted approach, being the best in court. It could be anything. So it's difficult to say.
Thank you. I saw Walter turning on his microphone like he wanted to answer that question. Was doing clear enough on what business development is? Even though you say he's a lawyer, confused. Okay, I'll come to China, sir. I'll come to you. Walter is itching to tell us in one. So one sentence, what's business development? Let's be
business development is creating opportunities. End of story.
Absolutely.
But you can't create those opportunities without marketing, because I can't come to you to sell what you don't know about. So what are we? Capabilities, expertise, testimonials, what have we done? So when I'm creating opportunities, sometimes you look for those opportunities where they're not even available in the first place. So business development, it's a skill set that comes with confidence and experience as well. I can't go to aerospace and sell their business for them without knowing about the business very well. But I can go to aerospace because I used to work with the CFO in aerospace. And of course, it will now, help me to set up a meeting with our own person in my office. So I've done my bit, I'm moving on. So I will take you want to get a business at Unilever, right? And you don't have access to Unilever. I'm not a lawyer, but the CEO at Unilever is my friend. He's going to link up with their GC at Unilever, and I'm taking you along to that meeting. I've done my business development. I'm moving on to the next one. So that's value add. Then you can now kill the business. However, am I going to be rewarded for that effort? That's the question.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Now, learned senior advocate of Nigeria. Of course, you need no introduction, and your experience speak for, or it speaks for you if I'm dealing with it in the singular. So let's speak to experience now, and just generally, what pitfalls do you think we can try to avoid in respect of these business models?
Okay, thank you. I'll borrow leaf from how everybody else has reacted and respond to Walter. On your last statement, yes, you should get a commission for making that introduction. And it goes back to what Afun was saying, depends on the structure you find yourself. And I think law firms have really evolved now. The generation you're dealing with will not grant you access and not get anything for it. They'll walk out the next minute. So even if they are in, support staff, like you said, right? So, but it's for the firm to have a proper structure on what compensation anybody can get for introduces business. It takes a lot to bring in business. So I mean, not even law firms, no business should take it for granted that you're bringing business to the firm. So yes, you should get a commission for bringing that business. Let's talk to your question. What do we see are pitfalls? And you're asking in terms of traditional models of what we've been doing, right? So we've gone from hourly billings, paper invoicing, and just spending money without, like my co-panelist said, we are not looking at cash flow and profitability. We're just like spending money. And I think it's getting, a bit more difficult now because there are lots of expertise everywhere. Everybody trying to showcase something. So you start your year. Many firms don't budget. Some firms do. We're talking about, I mean, most people here maybe belong to a structured firm. So, but if you're in a firm that is not structured, they're not budgeting, right? So they start the year just spending. Money comes, money goes out. So that's the problem. People need to understand that you need to have a proper budget for your business. Like I've said, law is a business. So the year starts, even before the year starts, by the end of the previous year, you should have an idea of what you're going to spend money on. Law firms these days, by the time January comes along, you have maybe like 10 or 15 sponsorship letters. And if you have not put those in your budget, your overheads are just going to run away with you. So that's a pitfall. And law firms should be thinking of that. I think one critical aspect too that we've not talked about enough is tax planning. Tax planning in law firms. Firms go years, right? They've not paid VAT, for instance, and that's FIRS. LIRS may even be a bit more, maybe they can, okay, this is an open forum, so I'm not saying anything. Let's pack that. But I think a lot of firms do not understand that they have to do a bit of tax planning. And I think it's become more imperative now with this new tax act and all the, things that come with it. So we need to think of paying our taxes on time to avoid penalties, paying the appropriate tax as well, payee, VAT, your withholding tax and all that. So that's also one of the pitfalls that I think I see, coming from traditional finance models.
Just to add to what Leonard Silk said, and I'll turn to the money person. What I found out is that, just like she mentioned earlier on, that in business today, you need to be cash rich. A lot of law firms are not taking advantage of how they can invest that capital till when they need it. And I think financial services will be useful to maybe touch upon opportunities, because there's no law firm must just put money in a bank account and put in fixed deposit. Apart from fixed deposit, what else do you want to do? Most people are not financially savvy to know what the opportunities are. And I think that's one thing we also need guidance on. Thank you.
Doing just before you get off the mic, I was going to start the big AI discussion with Ellen, but I'm aware Doing has to jump onto another speaking engagement. Doing, just to close the compensation conversation, and I've had these conversations with some law firm leaders that so you bring in a business, for instance, into a firm where you're engaged and you're compensated. You leave the business, but the client continues to patronize the business you've left. Now, does the compensation follow you to other businesses? Does the entitlement to a compensation, so to speak, follow you to other businesses even though you have left the primary firm?
Well, I've asked that question a couple of times and I've done the research. I think it depends on what each firm wants to do. First and foremost, you got the compensation as a staff. It's different from if you're a BD officer that says, look, I'm going to consult for you and help you with this particular thing. And it also depends on the size of the pie. If you see value in that person being able to unlock other things, you can then make it in perpetuity. I've seen people that discussed it and say, look, it's a one-off payment. It's not in perpetuity. Even within firms, there's some firms that tell you that if you bring in a transaction, a client, it's only the first time you get remunerated. Some other firms will say every invoice that comes out. So it varies. It's a conversation that has to be had. But I think people just need to research it and see what has happened and what benefit they want from it.
Okay, thank you. Before you leave us, right? What in your view is the future law firm? What does the future law firm look like, or what will the future ready law firm look like? Or well, let me say, and what will the future ready law firm look like?
I think a future ready law firm is one that's in touch with the realities of the times. As we stand today, AI is there. I'll give you a personal experience. I think I used an AI platform first time 6-7 months ago. I'm doing an MBA and my classmate, some techie Indian guy, gave us assignment to read a course. My team weren't ready. Just said, no problem. I'll upload it. You uploaded it, summarized one page for 20, 30 page document. And the thing just sent it around the whole team. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is interesting. After that, I asked him, I said, okay, look, can you teach me how to actually get value from this? So yeah, pay for this, what do you call it, the AI system he recommended. Don't do the free service. Pay for it and you get more value. He said, but you need to ask it proper questions. Taught me some prompts. I tried it. And the AI system gave me cases that did not exist. And I asked, and I was talking to like a human being. I was like, look, this case you gave me does not exist. I've sent it to so many juniors. They can't find the case. Where'd you get it? It says, oh, I'm learning every day. And that's a fact. So there's value in it. I wouldn't say AI is useless or you shouldn't use it as a lawyer. There's also the aspects which the chairperson mentioned today, the issue of confidentiality. When you upload certain documents, you're not sure where back end is going to go to. It's aggregating things and then. But digressing a bit, I did meet someone recently and told me that the judiciary in Nigeria have started having their own closed network AIs, which basically means that the AI system is built for their system alone. It cannot aggregate to the internet. So a future law firm in the future definitely has to use AI. It's how you use it and what form you use it for is very relevant. Other forms of technology, like Bosman mentioned, we need to automate. Definitely, processes, there's certain things you can do with it. In my firm, which we all know, Next Council, things like payment. Before, you had to be chasing someone to sign voucher for you. We're all approving on the go. It allows you also extract value to see disbursement sheet for clients. So we definitely need to evaluate. And more importantly, one thing I'm getting used to these days is reverse mentoring, which has a two-way benefit because there's some things that I'm not an old man, but for my generation, whereby we believe you need to serve to be served. You spend time. There's some things that are the laws of the world. This younger generation, they want everything now. I have no problem with it, but you need to add value. And value sometimes takes a lot of time. And they need to grow. So the reverse mentoring allows both sides to understand themselves and find value. Okay, so I was talking with a partner in an English law firm a while ago, and he was telling me about Gen Zs, Gen X, whatever it is. And he gave me some pointers that look, man, you need to get involved, which is all reverse mentoring, because and then extract that information and share it on both sides of the divide. So identifying key youngsters in the firm that you believe might be able to add value to the older side, and then the older side have great information to share amongst everybody so that you actually know what's in. But we also ultimately we need to keep evolving, and we're good at that as lawyers, or else we die. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doyin. You know, quite a number of you guys call him Mr. Afun Adedoyin, but I would not tell you what we call him. Thank you very much, and I'm sure we might have some questions for you that we might just, we're evolving, so we'll share with you on the go. All right, thank you, Mr. Afun, and we'll be happy to release you anytime you want to go. Ellen, let's start with you. And again, the money conversation, profitability, leveraging on AI and ML in this era of the fifth industrial revolution.
Okay, so I believe everyone in the audience has at least a little bit of an understanding of what AI is. But I'd like to take us a little back to basics of AI, because there's a lot of talk about AI as though AI is only generative AI, right? Which is the funky stuff, right? Everybody loves ChatGPT and what it can do and all the other sort of Gemini and the other models. But their AI is a broad term. They are computer systems that can perform tasks that you would typically require human intelligence, learning, problem solving, decision making, using algorithms and data to mimic human-like capabilities. So you talked about machine learning, for example. Machine learning allows the system to learn and improve from experience without programming. There's natural language processing, whereby the computers understand and interpret general human language, right, in your business context. You talk about computer vision, where the AI system can interpret and understand visual information. For example, document verification, signature analysis, things like that. And then, of course, the funkiest one that everybody loves to talk about, because you know what, it's the most controversial, depending on what side of the fence you sit on, is generative AI, which is creating original content based on learned patterns, right? We talked about contract drafting, client communications reports, and even developing documentation tailored to specific regulatory requirements. So coming to your question around AI and business models and value, right? Just listening to Lamide Adeosun talking about value. Value is really, really important. So there's two things that I've heard from your previous speakers talking about value, talking about efficiency, and talking about profitability, right? But there's the one thing as well that I'd like to add into the mix, which is culture. And I think, the previous speaker alluded to it a little bit when he talks about reverse mentoring, right? As leaders in law firms, you've got to model what you want to see. So it's not enough for you to send the juniors or the other people to go and learn about things. You've got to understand it yourself, right? AI and technology generally can add a lot of value to any business, and the law firms are not excluded from that value. However, you must have an innovative culture, a curious culture, a culture that allows people to make mistakes without repercussion. Because learning, especially learning new technology, needs an allowance for making mistakes and for failing. You have to allow people to experiment with the technology and test different things. In terms of value, as an in-house lawyer myself, right, value of a law firm now has to go beyond churning out documents or doing legal research or analysis, right? Because there are tools that I have access to that will help me with that, right? I want to know that you understand my business. A very, very long time ago, when I first started my career, very, very wise, my first manager, but my second manager said to me, your job is not to be the policeman. Your job is to enable the business, right? And so, what we want from law firms, or firms sitting on this side, is show me that you understand me, not that you understand the law. Because the nature of the law is that it is codified and is discoverable, and with a bot, I will find it as quickly as you need to find it. But you need to understand my context, my pain, but also my risk appetite. And that, I think, is the value that law firms need to bring in today's world. The second thing is we talked about efficiency, right? So just take a step back when we're talking about transforming business models, because this is linked. There's 3 ways you can use technology to enhance your businesses. Which one? And it is a business, the business of the law. Reducing costs, improving efficiency, and increasing revenue, right? And technology can help with all of that. And so there are a couple of examples that I will give of that. But when you even think about even leveraging technology in those 3 areas, whether it's cost reduction, improved efficiency, or increased revenue, you then need to think about, what is my strategy for my business, the business of the law? What is my business strategy in the long term and the short term? And that includes your business development. But what is also my digital strategy? What place does digital and the use of technology, AI or other technology, play in helping me to achieve my strategic objectives? But also, as leaders, can you say hand on heart that every single person in your firm understands what the strategy is, and you're all rowing in the same direction to achieve that strategy? And that's the flow down, not just the overall, but also how the digital plays into that overall strategy. So going down a little bit into specifics. So the question is, how can you transform? And I've sort of selected 4 areas where I think law firms can get the most value out of technology. One is contract life cycle management and review. I think that's the most transformative opportunity for law firms, which is, how do you take away some of the manual work and move that manual work to technology, right? Because manual processes, they're time intensive, they can consume significant billable hours. So there are AI-powered contract drafting and review tools, automated case clause analysis, comparison tools, and even collaboration platforms for multi-party negotiations. Now, what we've seen at PEGA is, and by the way, this is not just for law firms, even in-house, we are all implementing these tools. Again, so going back to the value conversation, I may not need a law firm tomorrow to tell me to analyze my contracts. I can do that myself, right? But I may need you to understand my business and say, what does my analysis mean? What is my risk? How does this fit into my business strategy that you hopefully will know? So you can increase your efficiency and by about 60 to 80%, improve your accuracy through contract management tools. The other area that I see that there is value for law firms is document review and legal research. I think that there's tremendous value in that, because again, a lot of the materials that we all use as lawyers, all of this stuff is digital. So, if you know how to use prompts properly, and I think one of the skills that every lawyer should know is prompting. And there are actually courses for lawyers on prompting for legal research. At law school, we all learned about IRAC, right? Issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. How do you build that principle of IRAC into the prompts that you put into the AI tool, right? And learning how to do that effectively and efficiently to get the right answers. somebody talked about the AI giving the wrong answer. That's how, so in the term for that is hallucinations, right? It's creating something that does not actually exist. But with really detailed, specific prompting, and also your own review, which is the human in the loop, you can avoid some of those things. Not 100%, but you can avoid some of those things. So how can AI help you with, and technology help you with document review, document classification and categorization, legal research with natural language processing, even talking to the tool, predictive coding for e-discovery processes, and also being able to search and interpret the law and legal precedents, and helping you generate memos and briefs. And this again will have significant cost savings for any law firm. That's the third thing that I sort of pulled out for you is compliance monitoring and regulatory workflow management. So, a lot of firms now, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was the keynote speaker that talked about working across borders, right? We're no longer looking at working locally. It's either regionally, internationally, collaborating with international firms in other countries, clients who are in other countries, or clients who are have multiple locations and need your help with providing services across those locations, right? So how do you handle complex compliance requirements across multiple jurisdictions, multiple regulatory frameworks? It can be time consuming, it can be expensive. Do you have the time, the resource for continuous monitoring, regulatory change tracking? Technology can help you with that. At Pega, we've got a product called KYC, Pega KYC. And what it does is that it automates regulatory change monitoring across, I think we've got across over 100 jurisdictions. Most of our clients for these are financial institutions. So the biggest banks in the world use the system. I mean, banks like Citibank, HSBC, Bank of America, Barclays, Lloyds use our system. But what the system does, and there are other tools that do that, and I think the law firms can also get access to that, is they enable real-time tracking of regulatory updates across multiple jurisdictions. They give you automated client notification systems, and there's intelligent automation of routing of compliance tasks. So that is the third one. And the next one is client relationship management. And again, when I was listening to the conversation around business development, it all sounded very manual to me. I've got to meet this person, go here, talk to that person. For people who are introverted extroverts like myself, that would be very, very exhausting to do. However, technology can also help you with that, right? Through helping with personalized communication for your clients, right? It's not enough. There's only so many people, right? And there's only so many meetings, one-to-one engagements, personalized interactions that you can do, right? And delivering generic one-size-fits-all communications, that doesn't work anymore. As clients, we expect more. So how do you create a balance, right? And there are tools that allow you to do that. Now, this is not a question that needs to be answered now, but how many law firm partners, senior associates actually use, for example, one thing that comes to mind that we use in our business is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Do you use that for your prospecting, right? Working here, and in a previous role that I had, I used technology to find law firms to help me in countries where I didn't have people, right? Now, if a law firm was depending on running into me somewhere to have that conversation, sorry? okay, so I thought I heard something, to have a conversation, they wouldn't see me, right? But I could find them by what they put out, right? And I could find what they put out using technology, right? And asking questions and asking a bot, a system, Google, if at the very basic, I need a firm to do this, can you recommend, right? The other thing that you can use are chatbots for client interactions, predictive analytics for relationship management, automated document processing for client communications, right? Law firms who position themselves early will have significant competitive advantages. And then, of course, streamlining your operations. I've heard someone talk about billing and collections, right? Speeding up service delivery, using workflow and case management to reduce your processing time for your back office, right? So a lot of this, we've concentrated on research, on service delivery, on marketing and client engagement. But what about the back office? What about your operations and your billing, right? So a lot of firms are burdened by costly and outdated technology. That inhibits growth and innovation. You need to think about replacing your legacy applications with efficient and scalable solutions that leverage AI, automation, and optimizing your workflows to reduce your costs, enhance your agility, and help meet your evolving business needs. And last but not the least is cloud. Cloud is not something to shy away from. One of the things that really inhibits technology and legacy transformation is having everything on premise. With cloud, you have access to the latest technology, but you're also able to leverage changes and improvements as they happen and get the very best of the latest technology.
Thank you very much,
So
Ellen.
I hope that I answered. Is there anything that I missed in that?
No, you covered the field sufficiently. I'm sure there'll be questions in the audience for you when we get to the Q&A session. Okay, so we've gone past the hour mark, and we'll just begin to prepare to round up, so that we don't eat too much into the question and answer session. So let me talk. The way I want us to take these final parts is, let's say from those that enhance our businesses, then let's speak to it from the practical experience side, right? So I'll start with you, Walter. And honestly, I'll need your views probably in a minute before I now come to what I actually want you to talk about on this AI issue, on this issue of compensation. So you had worked for a firm in the UK, and you work in Nigeria now. You've worked for a couple of firms in Nigeria after. Will you expect some kind of compensation from a door you supported to open whilst you were in the UK? And because it's a big issue for business decision makers in Nigeria, and I've spoken to a couple of law firm leaders that, okay, a colleague probably supports in introducing a client, right, for a certain business, or a colleague says, look, there might be an opportunity in respect of this business. You try to give visibility to your business in respect of that transaction, and you get the transaction. Now, subsequent transactions now come because of how well you did on the first transaction. When that colleague moves to other businesses, would there still be an entitlement to compensation for continued patronage after the person that supported in opening the door for the first transaction has exited the business?
Well, I don't think so, because your allegiance is to your company to start with, and you're getting paid to do your job. if you decide to leave the firm after a few months later or a year later and business continues, then that's your loss, really and truly. But if we take that to, like the sporting, business, like sports, obviously I'm an agent and I bring in business to you. It's going to be tied to future earnings and commission. But sorry, I'm not a lawyer, so and I know that a lot of this discussion also has its own legal implications as well. What sort of agreement do we have? Maybe that is the reason why we're having this discussion as well, because of course it's the future, of the business of the sector. Today we have lots of Gen Zs and young people. Some of them don't even want to come to work anymore. They want to work remotely. So, in their remote work, do they get paid full salary or they get paid commission on what they do and what they bring, to the table? Okay. I don't know if I've answered the question very well, but I just need to step quickly to respond to one particular aspect of what Ellen said earlier on with regards to technology and so on and so forth, helping to enhance business development and processes.
Yes, and sorry, Walter. Whilst you're at that, because again, we want conversations about enlarging business opportunities. Please also take that response along with how technology can actually help untapped BD opportunities for rainmakers and business development managers, because we have quite a couple of them here. We have aspiring rainmakers and we have existing rainmakers. So how can we leverage technology to enhance these capacities? Again, you might want to touch on issues of long and short-term billing, brand positioning, and all of those with technology, because you had in fact touched on that earlier, and your view was that there's a major risk if law firms don't embrace the reality of the now.
Yeah, so really and truly, it's a long-term view opinion, and as Zoe said earlier on today, the firm itself has to decide, what exactly do you want to achieve, and that's where you set objectives. In the Big Four, where I used to work, we call it dimensioning opportunities, and that is where the retreat take place, and you say, guess what? We want to go into this sector, and this sector. We need to have this sort of clients and this sort of clients, and then you start to get, to map, relationships with internal, people and experts and lawyers, thereby. Okay, now I'm not beating down Nigeria, but I know that when it comes to automation and, for example, we don't have Bloomberg, where you can do research, on business here. We don't have FT here. I know in the law firm, today we have Law Paddy and you have Lawyers Hub, stuff like that. But they're still at the very, embryonic stages, of doing research. But how do we use technology to enhance rainmaking? Rainmaking is rainmaking. Rainmaking, in my own definition, is the big ticket, which you only get, 3 or 4 times a year. The rest is not rainmaking. If I'm bringing a business, if rainmaking is, 2 billion naira worth of business, every other business is 100 million, 200 million. Is that rainmaking too? Maybe, relatively depending on the firm. If you're talking about the top 10 firm in Nigeria, rainmaking start from 2 billion, 3 billion, or even in dollars. Okay, and those don't come often. Okay, but the rest, So, what tools do we use? Of course, data is key. Data is key. Data gives client insight. She mentioned CRM tools. There are CRM tools now with AI, secure cloud systems as well, out there. But most of CRM systems, like your Salesforce, they have to be built in-house for your own use. Okay, and that comes from what has been gathered. So business development, as said earlier on, marketing is creating awareness, business development. It's creating opportunities. Okay? Awareness is there already. I'm talking here. You can never forget the traditional way of doing business though. Your Ikoyi club, golf membership and your events and, and sharing of cards, business cards here and there. And we collect those cards back in return. And you come back to the office and those cards goes where? Into the drawer. And that's the end of it. So how do you now begin to, get, client insight? And client insight is not client insight though. To start with, it starts with target insight. I'm going to that event, or we are creating an event. At PwC, an event was created called Nigeria's Most Respected Company Awards and CEO Awards. And it's a gala dinner, big deal, at a hotel. But it's not really to come and have free dinner, because there's a process behind it. And that process is saying that, guess what? We want to find the pain points of target clients so that we will be there at the forefront to offer solutions. But we can't do that without gathering all of you, under the same roof. Oh, by the way, we're just going to ask 2 questions. Let us see, who in your opinion do you think is a best managing partner in legal business? Just one, because you're a managing partner. Let us see, you two, just one. A vote. Oh, the winner is also and so person. However, the 3rd question is saying that, what challenges are you facing right now in your business? That's where we are going to. Not the fact that you have chosen, your friend to be the whatever. The real deal is, what challenges are you facing? We go back in-house and we start to dissect it. Wow, this company has got these challenges. Who is the person that it will be best fit or the team best fits to, to tackle that and reach out to them? That's business development. Okay? Now, you can gather that and keep gathering that. Okay? To know the pain point of different companies. Okay? I remember some years back, fintech. It's a big deal. And a lot of law firms today are still struggling to collaborate with fintech companies, legal techs and stuff like that. There was a disruptor event at the Landmark a few years back, and only one law firm was there. And they were there with a booth. They paid for a booth. And they had flyers. And everybody was like, oh my, this firm, they are always, disobeying the law. They are always. But the truth is, they were just there as what? A legal clinic for startups. You hold their hand now, they're going to grow, and you're there with them. Okay? You're not breaking any rules of advertising or whatever, which is prohibited in financial services firms or sector. But, and there are different creative ways. Now, I wish we're in England where everything's available to you at your desktop, where you can just, go in there. But you have to practically gather this data. And you have to have your ears on the ground as well. So inbuilt, systems, and you have Salesforce, you can only gather what you can gather. You cannot, we are still looking for those companies that will, have details. Look, if I want to get market cap of any company today in Nigeria, the best I would do is go to NGX and just gather the ones that are there. A lot of them are not even obliged to even put their numbers there fully. To even gather, on companies that are not even listed, it's a problem. So that's where you have your LinkedIn and social media, and your people have to be out there and searching. So the tools are there, but you just have to look for them.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Walter. And speaking to target issues now, we come again to the money woman. Let's speak to target issues. But there was something doing touched on that I would want you to probably make some remarks about. So for law firms, again, we're beginning to realize that this is a business, right? And it doesn't make a lot of sense you just stashing up cash. What exactly would be the ratio, so to speak, or percentage of cash you would advise that a law firm retains? And as against what we're able to deploy to probably more non-lawyering money-making opportunities. Before we now come to talk about the targets issues with AI.
Okay. Thank you for that jam question. Well, the truth is that there's no ratio. It's down to what you need. In terms of, yes, cash is an asset and cash is king. However, idle cash is also problematic. So there's no point accumulating cash in your bank account and not sweating it. That should be, I don't want to say kiddable, but that should be an offense to your finance people. So really, the balance is on it's down to need. It's down to the appetite of the organization. Organizations are run by human beings. Some people in the mornings they open all their bank accounts, they see the balance, they smile, and they close it again. And they do it everybody. Then at night, they look again, they smile, and they close. And so you have some organizations that just they feel, particularly traditional organizations, they get comfort in knowing that they're cash rich. So as and when liabilities come or there's a need, they can easily tap into it. And then you have other organizations that understand that cash is an asset and you need to sweat it to optimize the cash. And cash does grow depending on how you use it. And when we talk about being cash rich, I'm not literally speaking naira and kobo. What I'm talking about is cash-like assets, assets that can easily be converted to cash. And we have a lot of instruments in the market that are cash-like. So cash is not literally naira and kobo, but it's cash-like assets. So to answer your question, there is no ratio. It's down to your need and business exigencies. But before you ask me my targeted questions, I just wanted to add to some of the points that fellow panelists have made. In no particular order, starting from technology. Technology is amazing. It's going to save the world. It's not going to replace human beings. However, technology is expensive. And we need to realize that. And a lot of the technology we still use in this climb is imported. So that means that they're in FX. We all know what the FX market is right now. The government has done a lot of good work in stabilizing the FX in the last few months, but the number is still very high. Investing in technology is not a one-off thing. When you buy a CapEx, a technology CapEx, you buy the CRM like Salesforce, etc., that we've talked about, you need to service it. There's an annual servicing charge that comes with it. So no technology is a one-off. Do not let anybody be deluded. The other thing about technology is a lot of organizations go out and buy all sorts of fancy technology because, they're at an Ikoyi club and someone says, oh, we're using this. They're at Met Club. Since you talked about the boys club, they talk about, using that without really understanding the value. My strong belief is when you're investing in technology, the first question around the table is, what are we solving for? You see, if you don't have that constantly in front of you, it's very easy to get carried away with technology. It's just like when people buy phones and, I talk about myself. All I do with my phone is literally call, WhatsApp, and that's it. And there's some people that do all sort of funky things with their phone. So for me, buying, I was going to say Motorola to show my age, but buying just, just a normal phone, an everyday phone works for me. Whilst for my kids, they need a high-tech phone. So you really need to go back to what you're solving for. The other thing I wanted to speak to is about when Chinensa talked about budgeting. It's critical. It's very critical, not just for law firms, but for every firm. If you fail to plan, then you've planned to fail. Budgeting is one of those things that just guides your expenses. And I tell people in my office that, listen, they come to me, they say they want to buy this. I said, it's in the budget. I said, the budget is not a license to spend. A budget is just to guide spend and to ensure that the bottom line that the organization has targeted is sacrosanct. So budgeting is pivotal. It's central to successful organization. Tax planning. We all know about the new Tax Reform Act that was signed back end of June, which is effective 1st of January 2026. Right now, there's an opportunity for law firms and consultants, tax consultants, to really make a kill. I think it's over 200 pages, the Tax Reform Act. There's a lot to unpack in there. It's going to impact every business and every life, because there's a PAYE side, there's a corporate planning side, corporate side, there's M&A, there's equities, how, the taxing on equity, there's capital gains. There's just so many things in there. And this is really an opportunity for law firms, like every other firm, to really get their teeth into it and see how they can make money out of it. But tax is here. And the truth is that for organizations that don't have sound tax planning or are not even paying tax, there's nowhere to hide again. The chairman of the Tax Council is a seasoned tax professional and understood all the loopholes. So, the tax man is going to be out to get every one of us. So people really need to use between now and 31st of December to get their tax in order. The other thing I wanted to speak to was about BD. So, generally speaking, yes, people that bring in business should be compensated, either the person or the team, because really nobody really works alone. So the team that brings in the business should be compensated. One of the things we do is what we call shadow POL, where you've agreed a fee split internally, and then whatever that fee split is, we give it to you. If you're the cost center, we give you a shadow POL and we track it. And that forms part of your KPIs. So that at the end of the year, when it comes to profit sharing or bonus, you've got that part of your KPI that you can actually get recognized for. One of the questions you also spoke to was about when people bring in business and they think, is it for perpetuity or is it one-off? When I was in practice, chartered accounting practice, I'm trying to align. When you bring in business, you get a one-off and that's it. I know things have evolved, and there's a case for continuity, and a person that has come in wants to only relate with so and so, and the person has now left the firm. But one important thing that no one has mentioned here is the power of the brand. You see, when people bring in business, they're actually leveraging the brand of that organization. Yes, you can go in as in your personal capacity to bring in that business. But what also gives that individual the comfort to bank with you or to work with you in law firm is the quality and the strength of the brand that you're representing. So when you leave the firm, you're not taking the brand with you. You're taking yourself with you. So for me, really, the brand is important, and that was probably one of the reasons why you were able to secure that business in the first place. The other thing I wanted to speak to was investment opportunities and how law firms can basically really utilize excess cash or even monies within the organization. It's down to your risk appetite. It's down to your needs, business exigencies. How do you? This is for the finance people within law firms. How do you then manage the cash flow in terms of short-term needs, long-term needs, and etc. And that is really how the cash is should be used and sweated, and how it should be monitored. I hope I have not taken too much time, and I can still answer the targeted question you've got for me.
So the truth of the matter is, we got about 5 or 6 for the price of one. You probably add my questions in mind, and you covered them sufficiently.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we've made you talk about money, which is good.
Thank you.
Now, so we come to the learned senior advocate of Nigeria, who is very hands-on. And Chinasa, you and I experience all of these issues on a daily, practical basis. So, Chinasa, let's talk about policies. Let's talk about skill sets, right? Let's talk about ethical issues and practical steps. If I've not packed too many things into one, but policy, implementing for
issues,
skill sets,
and
next steps, and ethics, ethical issues around AI.
Femi Seni just remind me. just to tell you that we're lawyers, we'll always find a loophole. In that new tax bill, just give us time. Well, we'll always find one. So I'll start with skill sets, right? So we're living in interesting times. I think the workforce now comprises of maybe like 3 generations, right? So you have millennials, you have Gen Zs coming up, Gen X is coming now, and they all, and I think the common thread amongst maybe millennials, Gen Zs, and X is, the advent of technology and how it has completely changed, the way we do things, everything. Even our little kids now, I'm sure they know your phone more than you know it. So we just have to understand that for those of us who are, I don't know which generation I am actually, we have to rethink our skill set. We need to unlearn many things and begin to pay attention to a lot of many things, including digital skill set. I know it's a struggle for many people. I know it's a struggle for me. Even to start being on LinkedIn was quite a struggle, you know. So for skill set, we need to, and it cuts across the generations actually. It's not just for senior partners, it's also for, the generations that are coming up. They also need to understand that there are certain skills that we have that they have to learn about. I think it's a generation that has things a bit more easier in certain ways. I mean, in your time, if you needed to research something, you had to maybe hop in the car, go to the library, open the book. But now a simple click can, I mean, you learn everything you want to learn. So it's that additional, paying attention, giving it more, putting more time. I think I wouldn't say lacking because they're here and they may have my head, but it's just being able to across the generations, just understanding the skills that each generation has to unlearn and learn, unlearn, learn and relearn. So I think we just have to understand that there are several things that we need to begin to change. So that's
sorry, excuse me, sorry, please. Can I just ask a quick question as regards to that? Because for me, the skill set issue is really about how we embrace this new generation and a culture change itself, right? And how we invest, in tech, because they are coming up with all this mindset you mentioned on technology and how they use it, and how we can catch up as a firm, as a law firm, because if not, we're going to lose talent.
No, I agree. I agree. And I'm not saying, okay, so let's put it this way. Yes, we have to sort of embrace the new things that are coming up. And I get what you're saying. We have to, most of the things, they are the ones that actually really have a grasp of what's going on. Many times we're catching up, but I also believe that there are certain things that they have to learn from the older generation as well. But I know because of the technological advancements, I think we are the back foot. We have to come to them to sort of learn that aspect of, yes, the environment is completely changed. So I agree. We have to understand the change in the landscape. And it's not just in law, it's in everything. But more particularly in law because it's such a fluid sector now. Talent is expensive and it's really
So if I can go touch on what you said
now, what are
me and you.
Exactly.
You and
Because that goes back to the issue of branding that she mentioned. As branding is, the brand are the people. If I'm working with you and I help to create that brand and I leave your company, it is still me working. And I'm going to charge your client that I'm bringing on less fees than you are charging. Even though, so a PwC person has left PwC, the same service is still, the same quality of service is going to be provided, obviously, but it's not PwC anymore. and your clients want to cut their own fees anyway down. So you are creating an alternative, options for them, for service and for provision.
But so let me say something. The brand, okay, the people that are there now create the brand, right? And it's a culture thing. It's the culture that the firm has created.
What's the brand? What's the brand though?
No, but you see, this conversation is most likely never going to end.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The institution also enhances the members of the institution from a culture created over time.
Over time.
But what's a brand though?
No, but the fact that
It's a
someone
promise.
gives.
So it doesn't matter whether the promise is in blue or green or yellow.
No, but you see, the thing again is, and again, this is another conversation that might not end. You see, I think we should also dimension these things properly. I mean, yes, institutions must try to retain talent, but the truth of the matter is you're not going to retain 100% of all your talents. Now, the fact that you have even a 0.01% talent erosion, the question will be, how much of the brand has that erosion taken away? So if there is someone that leaves a major brand to provide the same service that brand provides at 40% of the value, I mean you're really not going to be able to stop these things 100%. But again, down the line, you would realize that the big brands or the people that strive to create big brands will most likely still retain a lot of big businesses or attract a lot of big business. Yes.
That's assuming that they're going to start their own practice though. Because, yes, I know law firms today that they're happy for you to go in-house so that they can keep getting business from you. And you are becoming an alumnus. Yes.
There's no problem with that strategy, actually. There's really no problem with that strategy. It has different dimensions. One is that we're still talking about the brand. The person goes in-house and is establishing your culture, shows how you work, right? That helps you. Why won't you want to retain the business? You want to retain the business. What's the flip side? You want somebody else to go in there and get the business? I mean, it's a marketing strategy. So there's really no problem with that. But back to your question of brand, the firm is the brand. Whoever starts the firm or the collection of people start the firm identifies the ideology they want to pursue, right? The kind of firm they want to have, the kind of thing that was speaking about. Whoever walks into the door, into the firm, you either fall in line with that ideology or strategy, or you walk out, right? And when you come in and you begin to mold us, we begin to mold you actually into the brand that we have. We've invested something in you, right? So it's a collection of several things. So you walking out, maybe you bring in the business and you're walking out and you say, okay, I brought this business. It's because of my brand. No, it's a whole, and there's something you said, the firm that stands behind you. That's part of marketing to get that job, because like you could just go into Ikoyi Club and you have access to whoever it is that is MD of whoever, and that's what you do. But to retain that client, it's a lot of work. And the work doesn't even have to be done by you. You may not know what's going on in the brief. A whole team is taking care of that brief. So the brand is the firm, and you have to have a culture to maintain what the brand is about. But back to all the questions you asked me, I go back to the issue of ethics. Maybe I should talk about ethics. And we're speaking about ethics in terms of AI use. So the first thing for clients is confidentiality, right? Their information. Some people may not give you work until they've come to your firm and they've seen your filing room. Believe it or not. They want to see how you store their information. They'll ask you down to the kind of server you maintain, what your license is. Yes, because they value their data and they don't want it, some information going out somewhere else. And really, all of us here, we're talking about AI, but nobody really knows how that thing works, honestly. At least I, for one, I do not know. You feed information into something and, all of a sudden you get all these results. So for me, ethical considerations for lawyers, we have to be careful about how we manage our clients' information in this digital age. Critical. I think lawyers should have some sort of policy document for members of their staff to say this is the way you can employ AI in working. And we actually may have a duty to inform our clients that, look, we're deploying AI in doing your work, and get confirmation or not. Some people will tell you outrightly no. Yeah, except for some automation, some other easier things that you could do that doesn't involve client data and information. So I think it's truly key for us lawyers. I don't know what else you asked me. I think we got.
Yes, so I think the three of them were intertwined, and I think you covered that. We've gone about a little bit over the hour and a half mark, and I think it's time. Dami, you probably need to help me with this, with questions from the audience. So I think, Dami, I think you should just identify everyone that has questions. Do we have a cap on questions? Help me here.
Yes, sir. Just 2 questions.
2 questions.
Yes.
That might be tough. Okay. Okay. So Dami, why don't you let's do it this way? Let's try. How many people have questions so that we see if we can, because some people might have the same questions. Or online, is there someone harvesting questions online? No questions online.
Already. What?
So how many questions do we have in the room?
I've seen 2 hands here in the room.
Okay.
I'll get monitoring from online as well, just to be fair, because they are very much a part of today's conversation. So please introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Thank you, Dami. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toyin Asadam, managing partner at Tunesis DLP. And a very big thank you to the panelists for the insights you shared so far. So I have 2 questions. The first one is flowing from the issue of ethics. I would like Mrs. Chinasa to speak to regulations, because this is a huge gap. And even as technology is evolving very fast, we still need to regulate. So I would like you to share your opinion on who should lead this. Should it be the bar or the government or a collaboration? And also, my second question is about hiring and training of staff. I would like Mrs. Helen to speak to the issue of hiring and training with regards to the skill set needed for lawyers that have this innovative mentality, that have the ideas to ensure that we're able to maximize these tools to enhance our practice. Thank you.
So I think we should take all the questions before the panelists answer.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Farouk Abbas. I'm a dispute resolution lawyer. Okay, my question is to the money woman. When the learned silk asked you a question about the percentage of profits that should be retained by the founders of the firm, you said there was no particular answer ratio to that. So I want to put the question to you in a different format this time around, based on best practices, because when you were talking, you said technology is very expensive, scaling is also very expensive. So the amount of profits the founders retain will, on the long run, affect the firm, whether the firm grows or scales or is sustainable or not. So from your experience in terms of best practices, what is the ideal percentage? Perhaps you can give us like a band, because I'm aware that there are reports that say that when it comes to compensation for your staff or for marketing or advertising, there's a percentage of your revenue that should go into those. So if there's a percentage of revenue that should go into those, I believe that there should also be best practices for the amount of profit the founders can take. Whether or not founders will now comply with that is a different issue entirely. That's the reason why perhaps you skirted around the question. So the second comment I want to make is regarding brand. I want to agree with Mr. Bossman regarding what is a brand. Branding, the value of a brand is determined by the people who patronize you. It's a perception in their mind. So you as the owner of the brand can determine your brand. So if the people who patronize you believe that losing key people in your team is what is bringing them to your firm in the first place, the value of your brand has depreciated, because no company brand maintains the same value over a period of time. It's either going up or it's going down. So if I like Manchester, I don't watch football, maybe because Ronaldo or somebody is playing there, and I know Ronaldo and this other player are their key strikers. If they leave, I can leave Man U and go to Saudi Arabia where they are playing. So I think we shouldn't just discard what Mr. Bossman said, because if people patronizing you see your strikers, that these are the people who are always closing your deals in oil and gas or in dispute resolution, and they leave you, you'll be surprised. If you do your numbers very well, you're going to lose a significant number of your business, because those are the people the clients see as doing the job. So I just want to add that comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Farouk. And just to confirm that no questions online, and
So we don't have any questions at the moment, but what we'll do is that in the course of the answering these questions that have come already, if you have questions online, please put them in the comment section so that we'll be able to gather them and have the panelists take
okay,
them.
because Dami, I don't know how many more minutes we have before we hit the 2-hour mark. My timing was at about that was started at about 11:55. 55.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think for the questions, do we say 2 minutes each? And I want to add one question for Walter, and it was from something Ellen had said, just to take that liberty of being the moderator, so that we'll take the questions round. Permission for error without consequence. What should be the latitude? So that would be question 4, because Ellen had said, yes, let's create an environment, embracing technology where we allow that permits errors without consequence. So what should be the percentage of latitude? So Chinasa, I'll start with you.
Pardon me, Leonard. So before we begin answering the questions, I've been informed that our panelists online, Ms. Helen, would also have comments and remarks to make after we have these questions answered.
Yes, so it was actually because I realized that we had about 20 minutes and
Yes.
that there might be more comments. My initial thoughts were that along with answering the questions, you should give your closing remarks. So
Thank
do
you very
we
much,
go
sir.
that way?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, so Chinasa, answer to the questions and closing remarks, please.
Okay, your question is who should be leading the charge of developing regulations to govern the ethical use of AI? The thing with human endeavor is that law always follows the events, right? Things happen and then the law is playing catch up. I know that Ozofu mentioned that SLP has dropped. I'm sure it's just a policy document. I think the practitioners should champion it. We are the ones that will most benefit from the diverse use that we'll make of AI. I'm not sure any executive member in the National Assembly is going to be bothering about whether you're going to benefit from using AI. So it's something we should really consider at the national level, the NBA level, right? And then trickles down to SBL, SLP, and all that. So I believe that as the ultimate beneficiaries, and in terms of, remember, as long as we have our own separate ethical duties, duty of care to the court, to our clients, co-counsel, and all those kind of stuff. So these are the things we should take into consideration. So I believe coming from us, it will be more robust, meet our needs, and look into the future as well. Okay, for my closing remarks, I think I'll say thank you to my co-panelists as well, because I've taken a lot from the information you've given. I believe that the times are evolving so fast that these conversations are truly important. I hope that people have gained some insights. I certainly have, and I'm looking forward to, some changes in the way we do things. Particularly for me, issues like staff retention, skill for staff, for young employees, young people. I want to actually know what they really want, what they consider, it's a good workplace for them, remuneration, enjoying what they do in the long run, and looking towards succession as well, and building larger law firms to take care of the economy we want in the future. So it's been a worthwhile conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leonard Silk. So I think we should take Erlyn before we come to the money woman and Walter. Erlyn, please.
So I'm taking so much from this conversation, and it's quite full and robust. But there are a couple of things that I just wanted to input on. One is, we talked about the ethics of AI, and I remember the keynote speaker talking about guidelines that have been developed by the section on business law on the use of AI. And when I listened to her, I realized that the things that she mentioned actually came from the OECD guidelines, right, on the ethics of AI. And there are a couple of things that one needs to look at. One is how, before implementing AI, you need to consider the risks. Do you have a plan to manage them? Having human oversight and a governance model is key. Does AI increase the existing risks that you have in your practice, or does it introduce new risks? How have you guarded against misuse of AI? When you are interacting, and I think that Leonard Silk mentioned this, when you are interacting with your clients, have you informed them that you are using AI? Do you have their consent for data collection? And are you ensuring that you are not using their AI outside of its intended purpose, right? So those are some of the things you need to consider. The other thing is another concern, and I think this is linked to the skills question as well, is job loss. I hear that all the time, which is AI going to take our jobs? And it is an ethical consideration. Law firms will need to upskill and reskill to provide services and value that the tools do not have, but also skill their teams to use those tools efficiently. So there is understanding data minimization and collection, limitation of that, understanding and making sure you have appropriate safeguards and you're securing the data, there is accountability for the use of data and the use of AI. And I've mentioned very specific about the purpose and the data quality. I think Mr. Bosman talked about, you have to gather data, but that data has to be of a good quality for the tool to use when you put that data into a data lake that the tool can access. And the data has to be relevant, right? So there are risks, but those risks can be mitigated. I mean, there are, having high quality data will help mitigate the risk. Having sufficient guardrails, especially for personal information, is very important. Upskilling and reskilling is very important. Making sure that you've selected the right vendors and you have a long-term digital strategy, so you get the tools that you need, not the tools that are trending, or the tools that somebody else who has a different problem that you have is using. And making sure you're doing your due diligence and contingency. Again, there was a reference to what's happening on the back end. Not all tools are equal. You need to understand what your provider, and most providers, I know that we talked about, having a closed AI model, or most AI tools are using tools that have been built by the big companies, the large language models, whether they're using a tool that's been built by Microsoft, they're using a tool that's been built by Google, or the AWS tools. Those are the three most common ones. And a lot of the tools that you will have in the market today are riding off the back of those large language models. So understanding it, understanding how they use your data, and also understanding the business model. I will tell you for free that in tech, they're either monetizing, if it's cheap or free, it's most likely they're making money off your data. So you need to understand your provider's business model, right? There is nothing like a free lunch. So if you're not paying for the tool, it means most likely if you dive into the terms and conditions, you have given them access to your data. So don't just click accept, read the terms and conditions, then you know what's going on, or pay for the tool if you can afford it. The other thing as well is, I know that there are challenges with adoption of technology in Nigeria. I don't underestimate those challenges. Infrastructure, technological, someone talked about the cost of technology. It is a challenge, but we've got to find ways to overcome that challenge because it is a regional market. So in South Africa, for example, 70% of the law firms are using AI tools. In Nigeria, the number is significantly less, right? There's only so much gatekeeping of our market that we can do. The same way we want access to markets outside also means that people outside want access to the markets in Nigeria. And so we've got to find ways to leverage those tools to be more competitive and find ways, to get access. There was another thing around, who should lead regulation. And one thing that I've always said is, please God, no, regulation should not be led by lawyers. We have to understand that regulation is a competitive advantage. If we do not want to spend foreign exchange importing technology, it means we have to build it. And if we're going to build it, it means we've got to have regulation that enables entrepreneurs and to build technology, right? One thing that us lawyers, including myself, we are notoriously adverse to risk. Technology is risk. And so if we want to be competitive as a country in service delivery, including technology service delivery, I think the last set of people that should lead regulating technology is lawyers. We should hear from the market, hear from the entrepreneurs, look at what others outside are doing so that we do not fetter the growth of technology and the development of technology and the use of technology.
Thank you very much, Ellen. I'm not sure if all the lawyers in the room or majority of them will agree that we should cede our right to self-regulate. But of course, I agree with you, and I've always taken that view, even in terms of issues of professional discipline, that it should incorporate non-lawyers, as it's the standard in quite a number of places, including the UK, where they're described as lay officers or laymen in terms of discipline of legal practitioners. So yes, we should incorporate external views because it's not our core area of competence, but I think we should still play a big role in regulation. So go to the money woman.
So I'd answer the question first and I'll say my closing remarks. So with regards to best practice, which is a good way to get me to really talk. Okay. So I'll speak to the industry in which I work in, which is financial services. We're regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and in the company I work with, also by the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is more of CAMA, Company and Allied Matters Act, which is probably what guides law firms. For the Central Bank of Nigeria, there's actually a payout grid, and the payout grid specifies various objectives that you must meet to be able to distribute X amount of monies in terms of either bonus or dividend, or call it what you want. What it prescribes is if you meet all the standards, everything that you must meet, without boring you, you can actually distribute up to 80% of your current year earnings, in whichever form you want to do so. I know CAMA also says you can also distribute up to 80% or even more, depending on the business needs. But your direct question in terms of best practice, you'd find that most firms would retain between 25 and 40%. And this is because either for future investment reasons or the stage in which the stage of business in which they are currently in. And so best practice would stipulate anything between 25 and 40%, which I didn't want to really dive into, but thanks for making me speak more. In terms of closing remarks, first of all, I'd like to first say thank you for the invitation. I have really learned a lot, even though our law colleagues were the ones that were meant to learn, but I've also learned a lot. The conversation doesn't end here. The conversation around ethics, around branding, around AI, and about finance doesn't end here. But just a keynote from me is that law is a business, is a business, is a business. We need to treat it as such. That is the only way succession and sustainability can be embedded. Thank you.
Walter, please. So the question is in regards to margin of error?
Absolutely, that's permissible.
It's permissible.
Yes.
Okay, well, for me, because the way we work and also best practice, there will always be errors. There will always be errors, but the margin itself is a question, okay? Especially if it's detrimental to the business or to the brand. So usually we put in layers of authorization as well, because what we do, let me focus on marketing even more, marketing and branding as against business development, because marketing and branding goes out, shows visibility. So, nothing's going to go out there. And if you're my boss, you have not signed up to it, because you don't want to be caught unawares as well. So whatever I do or the team does has to go out with your consent. So if that error comes in, we are all culpable. It's not just us in BD or in marketing. So yeah, but yes, mistakes will happen. But that's the part of growth as well, because you always grow, in the team. But if it's detrimental to the company, then I strongly believe that heads must roll, really and truly, depending. Okay. My final remarks is really about the adoption of AI to transform the legal business, and it's currently in Nigeria. It's currently a mixed bag of if you like, early stage experimentation, significant systemic challenges, and it goes down to different things, limited digital infrastructure. Many firms are still struggling with automation to even begin to think of going the next level, to acquiring. And of course, the issue of ethics, confidentiality, but also trust as well, trust in your people. Because it's, like I said earlier on, it's not just about the automation and technology. It's also about the people that will manage it and they will make it work, right? At the beginning of each year, as I said before, you dimension your opportunities. And in that same realm of discussion, you talk about, what, is best fit with technology at a cost that is affordable to us. There's always, plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, I want to go to the airport now and I want to rent a Prado. A Toyota Prado is 70,000, 80,000 naira for a drop. If I want to go in a Rolls Royce, it's probably 750,000 naira, but I'm still going to get there. If I take Okada, it's probably 2K. I will still get there. But the message is really to get there. Okay, of course, you're not going to get there as an inferior or start straight. Well, the straight might even, if you're wearing a sports kit at the and trainers, then when you sweat, it means that you actually exercise to get there. That's a different selling point as regards to getting there in a suit, in air conditioning. So everything is relative, really and truly. Okay. So it's been a wonderful conversation. I thought I would have the opportunity to give some examples of some of my clients in the legal and how they are struggling, but everybody is struggling. struggling with automation, I have a client today that are still doing manual billing, fee notes manually. Anyway, I mean, that's a different discussion for another day. Okay. So thank you for having me anyway. It's been a wonderful discussion and
Thank you, Walter. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, our panelists. And I also thank the audience. And, my own closing remarks in a minute. And these are not my original views. I sat in a discussion on AI and technology in the UK a few weeks ago. And someone had asked a question. I think it was the head of the Dubai International Financial Center Dispute Resolution arm, or either the Qatar one. And he had said that if you walked into a plane and you were introduced to a robot as the one that will fly you from from point A to point B, will you sit on will you sit on that plane? And he also said that we all know Casio calculators, right? That probably at the point Casio calculators were introduced, they were resisted. That look, I mean, we trust what we can do with our brains. But today, nobody even talks of Casio calculators because technology has moved way beyond that. So these things keep evolving, but they would not replace the human responsibility to coordinate. Thank you very much. Dami, over to you.
Thank you so much. It has indeed been a very robust and engaging conversation. Please let's appreciate our moderator, Learned Silk, Mr. Bode Olanipeko, SAN, our esteemed panelists, Mrs. Helen Anatogu, Mr. Adedoyin Afo, Mrs. Olamide Adeoshun, Mrs. Chinasa Unwebunam, SAN, and Mr. Walter Bossman. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We're now going to have some time to take pictures. May I please invite the trustees. We have here with us trustees of Alan, Mrs. Sylvia Nzeku, a round of applause, and Mrs. Harrison Abiola to take pictures with our panelists. Please let's put our hands together for them as they come up stage. Thank you. It is now time to finally let our panelists go. Thank you very much for the robust, enriching contributions to today's topic. As they head back to their seats, ladies and gentlemen, please once more appreciate Mr. Bode Olanipeko, SAN, Mrs. Helen Anatogu, Mr. Adedoyin Afong, Mrs. Olamide Adeoshu, who has now been dubbed the Money Woman, Mrs. Chinasa Unwegbam, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Mr. Walter Bossman. We're gradually drawing the curtains on today's event, but like I said earlier on, we have a better half. So if you'd like to be a part of the conversation in the masterclass on scaling smart for law firms, smart business expansion, and talent retention strategies, you could please go to the registration stand. We have Ms. Blessing there to help with your registration for the masterclass. Thank you very much. So I'd like to take feelers from the room. In one word, how has the conversation been today? In one word, or someone said one sentence is too little to ask. So let me increase from one sentence to one word. How has the conversation been today? Educating. How have the conversations been today? Insightful. How have the conversations been today? Enlightening. Wow, coming from Leonard Silk. Interesting. How have the conversations been today? How have the conversations been today? Impactful. Thank you very much. So we've had the first half and we're moving on to the next half. But before we do that, please welcome with me to give the vote of thanks and the closing remarks for the first half of today's event, Ms. Grace Oyeni. A round of applause. Please let us put our hands together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished managing partners, panelists, speakers, on behalf of the Managing Partners Roundtable Planning Committee and the entire Alan Group itself, I would like to say a very big thank you for your time today. Thank you so much for sharing the insightful conversations you've had with us today. We are indeed very grateful. We believe and we trust that all of the insights that you have shared with us today will translate into actionable drivers for our firms. And then I also want to give special appreciation to the members of the planning committee, particularly. Please, let's give it up for them. Thank you for your tireless work behind the scenes. And I'm utmostly grateful as well to the president and the entire trustees of Alan for entrusting me to do this. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you at the 5th edition of the Managing Partners Roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Ms. Oyeni. We've officially come to the end of the 4th edition of the annual Managing Partners Roundtable, organized by the Association of Law Firm Administrators of Nigeria, Alan, and the NBASBL. It's been my honor to be today's compere, and I'd like to especially invite you to ensure that you are a part of the masterclass where the conversation continues right here in this same venue in the next couple of minutes. I am Damilola Busari. Do enjoy the rest of your day.